For our viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime with me, Blessings Mosugu. Nigeria's Senate has confirmed the appointment of Balarabe Lawal from Kaduna State, Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State, and Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State as ministers of the Federal Republic. The confirmation, however, was not short of its own drama, as Lawal had slumped on the floor of the Senate during his screening exercise. The president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, had announced the confirmation of the ministers after they were cleared through a voice vote by members of parliament. Amadin reports.
The screening exercise commenced on the floor of the Senate shortly after the commencement of plenary. Jamila Bio Ibrahim, the nominee for the youth ministry from Kwara State, appeared before lawmakers, saying she's aware of the challenges being faced by Nigerian youths.
We're aware of the challenges that Nigerian youth are faced with: underemployment, unemployment, yes, and of course, poor access to health, access to affordable and quality healthcare, poor access to quality education, and of course, we are deprived of skills that will make us keep up with the current realities of the job market.
She promised that if cleared by the Senate, she will lead by example and be a model for many.
If confirmed, Mr. President, thank you, sir. If confirmed as the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to pilot the affairs of the Youth Ministry, my first and most important role would be to inspire young people.
Balarabe Lawal from Kaduna State then took his turn, convincing lawmakers of his capacity and preparedness for the job.
I have been part of administration, I've been part of policy making, I've been part of trying to change things in the country based on what I did at the federal level.
After a little over 20 minutes, a mild drama ensued as he slumped on the floor of the Senate.
Can you say water, give me water. Water and sugar. Water and sugar. Get sugar, and water. Is there, where is Dr. Wale? Can the camera see immediately?
The Senate then went into a closed-door session. The screening exercise continued after the emergency was dealt with. The president of the Senate then took a voice vote where lawmakers unanimously confirmed their nomination. This brings the total number of ministers that will serve in the administration of President Bola Tinubu to 48. Amadin reporting for News Central.
Well, joining me on the news to discuss this are two gentlemen. First is a public affairs analyst, Nelson Ekujumi, is the Executive Director Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate. He joins us from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, Nelson, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening.
Good evening to you too. Also joining us on the news is Dr. Omotoso Ayodeji Andrew. He is a resident doctor, Department of Community Medicine, Federal Teaching Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, gentlemen, let's look at it from this angle. Should 65 years old Balarabe Abbas' competence be judged by the fact that he slumped during the screening? Because a lot of people have been now, doubting his credibility just based off on that.
Who is the question directed to? You have to guess.
Okay, apologies. Omotoso, go first, please.
Thank you very much for the question. I don't think Senator Balarabe's competence should be tested with what happened today at the Senate floor, because medically, we have some simple fainting spells, which is not actually a serious issue, whereby there is a sudden temporary loss of consciousness and posture caused by a decrease in blood flow to the brain. And the person can actually regain consciousness as soon as possible, which I think happened in the floor of the Senate today after interventions So I will not want Nigerians to actually look into the issue, actually be a simple fainting spell, whereby he might not actually have a pre-existing medical condition. And at the age of 65, I think he can still do his best to contribute to our polity in Nigeria. Thank you.
Right. Ekujumi, do you share the same opinion?
Absolutely. My opinion is not different from the medical personnel who just spoke. There's no basis to assume that because somebody slumped at a screening exercise, then that is enough to disqualify him or her on health grounds, except if we can be availed of his medical history with his, acceptance to make it public. But if you ask me, I agree absolutely with my other colleague there that except if anybody can come out based on the candidates, the ministerial nominee, the confirmed one, based on his, approval to divulge that, medical condition. But as we speak, we don't know for certain what, prompted his, slumping at the floor of the Senate while being screened. So that is not enough, by any ramification to disqualify him, if you ask me.
So, in your estimation, are there any pre-existing conditions or chronic illnesses that might contribute to the episodes of fainting or collapsing? I know you did mention some of the causes, but is there any underlying issue that might be a contributing factor?
Yes, thank you for the question. If the person is actually suffering from uncontrolled hypertension, it can make the person be at risk of what we call postural hypotension. That means there is low blood pressure. And this blood pressure particularly occurs when someone suddenly assume standing position from a sitting position, suddenly can actually drop the blood pressure, which can eventually lead to reduced blood flow to the brain. That's a medical condition. We also have some conditions like cardiac arrhythmias, which is also common in people who have uncontrolled high blood pressure. It will also be as a result of neurological disorders like seizure disorders. Is also one very important medical condition that could be associated with the fainting attack that happened today.
Right. All right. Ekujumi, now that the Balarabe Abbas, that's the former SSG under Nasir El-Rufai, has been screened and confirmed, how safe is it to say that the purported infighting between the Senate and the former Kaduna State governor is over? All right, I don't think we have Ekujumi right now. Dr. Omotoso, did you get that, or would you like me to repeat myself?
I would like you to repeat it.
All right, let me just ask you, based off of your professional opinion, considering that fainting could be related to cardiovascular issues, would it be appropriate to recommend a cardiac evaluation to rule out any heart-related conditions before, looking at how he just got confirmed?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it is very appropriate to actually recommend cardiac evaluation for him. Just like was said earlier, it could be as a result of some cardiac problems. And a proper medical history should be taken to ascertain if his medical history probably is hypertensive or is even on hypertensive medications. Because if hypertensive medications is used at high dose, could actually tilt the blood pressure to the low side, which could lead to reduced blood flow to the brain. So we need to properly take a history, medical history. We need to also examine him, check his blood pressure, check his rates, pulse rates, the regularity of the rates, which could actually give out cardiac arrhythmias. You can also request for some further tests, checks X-ray, ECG to also support in ruling out arrhythmias. A blood sugar, a rapid blood sugar we also suggest, because as part of the conditions that could be responsible. Dehydration might just be dehydration that is causing the fainting attack. It might just be hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, that is causing the fainting attack. So I think a cardiac evaluation is very, very important to assess if there's an underlying medical condition that caused the fainting attack today.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Omotoso. Now, Ekujumi, we lost you for a bit. Now, I was trying to ask you, now that Balarabe Abbas, a former SSG under Ministerial, has been screened and has been confirmed, how safe is it to say that the purported infighting between the Senate and the former Kaduna State governor is over?
Well, I think I don't see how the Senate and the former governor of Kaduna State will have been fighting, because don't forget, the National Assembly was out there to screen the ministerial nominees. And if there's any ministerial nominee that has a question mark on his eligibility, it is in the powers of the National Assembly, to do the needful. And I don't think anybody should take this personal, because it is about service to the nation. So the confirmation of the replacement, and I'm sure every factor must have been considered before this replacement was, put forward. And as we can see, that replacement has been confirmed. So I can't find a nexus in corroborating that there was an issue between the Senate and the former governor of Kaduna State. It was probably about the national interest, and the National Assembly is people by forces who have been elected to serve the Nigerian people, and in the conduct of their affairs, the interests of the Nigerian people would be uppermost in their mind, not minding the political or personal relationship or personal animosity they must have had. So for me, I don't see this as putting to rest any squabbles, because in the first place.
Right. Thank you for that. We didn't get the last part of it, but thank you for that. So far, Public Affairs Analyst Nelson Ekujumi and Dr. Omotoso Ayodeji. Andrew, thanks for joining us on the news.